Welcome to the Quiet Exit podcast, where UK business owners find clarity, confidence, and calm as they think about stepping back. No noise, no pressure, just the next chapter done right.
Hello again, and welcome to the Quiet Exit podcast. I'm Stephen McConaughey, and today we're talking about something that feels deeply personal for most business owners, even if it's rarely said out loud. Not the numbers, not the deal terms, but what it means to let go without losing yourself in the process. Because if you've spent years or decades building something that carries your name, your energy, your values, then stepping away isn't just an operational change, it's an identity shift. So in this episode, we're going to unpack that quiet, emotional tension. We'll explore the idea of who you are without the business. What makes a transition feel like growth, not erasure. And how to prepare for an exit in a way that protects your peace without creating a void. No pressure, no hype. Just a thoughtful reflection on legacy, identity, and continuity of self. As always, if you'd like a quiet resource to go alongside this episode, there's one waiting inside the Quiet Exit Club. It's called the Post-Exit Identity Map, and it's designed to help owners like you explore who you are after the business card. You can download it quietly at epitomycapital.co.uk/quiet-exit-club. But right now, let's begin the reflection. Let's start with a moment of honesty. There's a kind of fear that most owners carry quietly. It doesn't show up in shareholder meetings. It's not discussed in exit strategy webinars. It's internal, emotional, and it sounds like this. If I walk away from this business, who will I be? This isn't just a technical challenge. It's not about due diligence or valuation. It's about something much more human. It's the fear of becoming invisible, of losing relevance, routine, recognition, and maybe even losing purpose. One owner once told me with a half smile, I haven't had a Monday morning without 37 things on my plate in 22 years. And when he imagined a life where that pressure was gone, it didn't feel like freedom. It felt like emptiness. That's what we're really exploring here. Not whether you can sell, but whether you can stay whole after you do. That is what matters. Because letting go without preparation can feel like erasing yourself. But letting go with intention can feel like evolution. And that's the shift we're here to make. Most business owners don't fear losing the business. What they fear is losing the version of themselves that only exists inside the business. Think about it. You've been the one making decisions, shaping culture, holding risk, carrying people. Your calendar, your identity, your relevance. All of it has been structured around the business. So the question becomes, when you walk away from the business, do you walk away from yourself too? And the answer depends entirely on how you prepare. Because the regret we see post-sale isn't always financial, it's psychological. It comes from owners who never took the time to explore. What still matters to me, even when the title disappears? What part of my role was feeding my confidence or my connection? What parts of this business have been holding me up emotionally without me even realising? These aren't business questions, they're identity questions. And the quiet truth is this: most exits don't go wrong at legal stage. They go wrong because the owner didn't build a soft landing for themselves. They planned for the business. They didn't plan for themselves. And so, when the inbox goes quiet, when the team stops calling, when no one asks what they think anymore, it doesn't feel like relief. It feels like a form of grief. But it doesn't have to be that way, because identity, real identity, isn't lost when you sell. It's simply waiting to be redefined. And that's where we go next. Let's shift the lens now and look at what we've learned from the inside as direct buyers. When we speak to an owner who's thinking about stepping away, we don't start by asking for numbers. We start with a much quieter question. How do you want this to feel? And you'd be amazed how many people pause and realise they've never been asked that before. Because they've been focused on deal value, on structure, on timelines, but not on experience. And experience is what shapes whether you feel at peace post-exit or like something essential is missing. We've seen it all. Some sellers go straight into retirement, but feel aimless by week 3. Others say, I'll take a year off, and then call us 6 weeks later, asking if they can still be involved somehow. And the common thread? It's not poor planning. It's poor identity planning. Because if you don't know who you are without the role, you start clinging to the role long after you've signed the deal. That's why at Epitome Capital we include something we call legacy threads. It's a soft, optional process where we work with the owner to map not just the handover, but the continuity of meaning. What parts of their story still matter to the brand? What rituals, principles, or phrases should carry on? How do we keep the fingerprints even after the hand is let go? That's what real continuity looks like. And for the owner, that gives a sense of peace, because they haven't vanished, they've evolved. That's what we want to offer in every quiet exit. Not erasure, but honouring. Let's bring this to life now with a real story, one that stayed with me. His name was James. He built a specialist logistics business over 22 years. He didn't start it for the glamour. He started it because he was good at solving hard problems. Calmly, reliably, consistently. Over time, he built something that worked. Good people, strong culture, a client base that respected how he did business. But when we met, James was stuck. He wasn't burnt out. He wasn't desperate. He just felt a growing distance between what he loved and what he was still doing. He told me, there's nothing wrong, but I'm not in it anymore. I feel like I'm turning up to protect something, not grow it. That's a phrase I've never forgotten. We didn't rush. We met over coffee. We sat in his warehouse office and walked the floor. And here's what became clear. James didn't fear selling the business. He feared becoming irrelevant to it. His identity wasn't tied to ego, it was tied to usefulness, to feeling needed. So we flipped the process. We didn't say, let's prepare your team and extract you. We said, let's ask, how would you like to remain involved? If involvement felt meaningful, not managerial. That's how we built his quiet continuity plan. He stayed on part-time as a mentor for 2 rising leaders. He joined quarterly strategy reviews, not as a decision maker, but as a guide. And he launched a small founders circle in his sector, sharing insights with owners earlier in their journey. 6 months after his exit, James called me. He said, I thought letting go would feel like disappearing, but I've never felt more seen. That's the power of planning identity alongside exit, not after. Because when your value isn't erased, it can be reframed. Let's shift now into something practical. A quiet exercise you can do this week to prepare your identity, not just your deal. We call it the roles and roots map. Draw 3 circles. Label the first one, what I do. The second, what I love. The third, who I am. In what I do, list the tasks, the meetings, the decisions, the visible role. In what I love, write what energises you. It might be coaching staff, solving problems, innovating, teaching. And then who I am, write the qualities that show up no matter where you go. Calm under pressure, loyal, thoughtful, relational. Now look at the overlap. If you removed the first circle, what I do, would the other 2 still be visible? Would you still recognise yourself? If not, that's not a failure. It's an invitation. An invitation to begin designing a version of your life where the best of you shows up even without the business card. This is the foundation of post-exit peace. Inside the Quiet Exit Club, you'll find something called the Post-Exit Identity Map. It's a private tool, a simple framework to explore how you'll spend your time, your energy, and your presence after you exit. No sales pitch, no assumptions, just space. And sometimes that's all you need. You can find it quietly at epitomycapital.co.uk/quiet-exit-club. Let's stay in this space a little longer, because for many owners, letting go isn't just about structure or control. It's about visibility. When the phone stops ringing, when no one needs your approval, when the inbox quiets, you might find yourself wondering, am I still seen? That question doesn't make you needy, it makes you human. Because the truth is, for years, maybe even decades, you've been at the centre of something. Your business has been a mirror, reflecting your decisions, your values, your tempo, reinforcing your presence. So when you start stepping away, it's not just the business that changes, it's the feedback loop. The signals that told you you matter here start to fade. And if you're not ready for that, you might experience something few people talk about. Post-exit invisibility. It's not depression, it's not failure, It's the emotional lag that occurs when identity has been outsourced, and then that external validation goes quiet. Let me offer a frame here that might help. We talk a lot in the Quiet Exit framework about transitional identity. The space between who you were as the owner and who you're becoming as the former owner. It's not a void, it's a bridge. But only if you see it that way. This is where we bring intention into that transition. Because left unmanaged, that gap can become a trap. You might find yourself tempted to jump back in. Not because the business needs you, but because you need to feel needed. And that's dangerous for everyone involved. But if you cross the bridge slowly, with space, support, and identity tools like the ones we've discussed, you don't lose yourself. You relocate yourself. Let's revisit a story here. You might remember Sandra, the service business owner we met in episode 3. When Sandra stepped back, she expected to feel joy, relief, freedom. What she didn't expect was the silence. She told me, for 15 years I opened every Monday with a list. Now I open Mondays with space, and I don't know how to fill it. That's honest, and it's real. So we helped her build something we now use with many other owners. We call it the Quiet Monday Blueprint. It's not a productivity system, it's a grounding structure. Every Monday morning, Sandra now sits with 3 questions. What do I want to feel this week? Who could benefit from my perspective today? What's one small thing I can create, share or build, just because it matters? Those 3 prompts became our new compass. Not to replace our old identity, but to help her meet our new one with curiosity, not dread. And you know what happened? Her creativity came back, not overnight, but in waves. She started writing. She began mentoring. She launched a small peer circle for women leaders over 50. The point here isn't that everyone needs a new project. The point is this: if you don't plan for what presence looks like post-exit, you'll fill that space reactively or not at all. And that's where regret lives. In the unplanned space. In the silence that feels like absence, not possibility. So I want to offer you a final tool for this segment. It's gentle, it's simple, and it matters. It's called the Identity Echo List. Take a page, write the sentence, people experience me as, then fill in 10 endings. For example, calm under pressure, loyal, generous with insight, strong in crisis, grounded, protective, focused, fair, curious, warm. This is your echo. What people feel when you walk into a room. It's often more durable than your skills or title. And when you read it back, it reminds you, you don't disappear when you let go. You echo forward in people, in values, in presence. So if you've been wondering quietly, will I still matter? The answer is yes. But only if you believe that too. Let's shift slightly now, from the emotional to the practical. Because the emotional side of letting go needs to be grounded in something tangible. Otherwise we end up drifting. And I've seen it time and time again. When owners don't map the future, they default to the past. So here's something we do, quietly, respectfully, with every seller who starts feeling ready. We walk them through a process called the Quiet Continuity Map. It has 3 letters: people, patterns, purpose. Let's take them one by one. Layer 1, people. Start with this question. If I wasn't here next week, who would feel most unmoored? This isn't just about org charts or direct reports. It's about energy and influence. It's about trust. It's about proximity to your presence. These are your relational anchors. They might include a senior team member you've mentored, a long-term client who calls you directly, a supplier you've worked with since year 2, even a part-time PA who intuitively understands how you operate. The goal isn't to replace these relationships instantly. It's to name them, acknowledge them, plan for their continuity with care. Layer 2, patterns. Next question. What patterns do I reinforce, consciously or not? Think routines, think tone. Think what people copy because you do it. Maybe it's your Monday morning kick-off emails. Maybe it's how you handle customer complaints. Maybe it's the way you lead quarterly strategy reviews, calmly, quietly, but with clear force. These patterns aren't always written down, but they shape how your business feels and flows. If you don't name them, they disappear. If you do, they evolve. Quiet legacy begins with deliberate continuation. Not carbon copying, but conscious handover. Layer 3, purpose. Final layer. Ask yourself, what meaning does this business hold beyond money? I can't stress this enough. Every enduring business has a quiet driver, an intention, a why. And often it lives inside the founder's heart, not the business plan. It might be, I built this to give people good jobs. I wanted to prove something to myself. This started because no one else was solving that problem. I just didn't want my kids to grow up the way I did. Whatever your reason, it matters. Not just sentimentally, strategically. Because when you name that purpose out loud, others can carry it, even when you're gone. Here's an example. One of our most memorable deals involved a founder named Raj. Raj had built a business in the education technology space. Brilliant product, loyal users, strong team. But the magic, it wasn't the tech, it was why he built it. He told us, I grew up in a house where we had one book between 3 siblings. I want kids to never feel that kind of lack. That's not a pitch, that's a purpose. So we protected that. Post-sale, we worked with Raj to embed that value into onboarding, culture, hiring, and product dev. Not because it was profitable, but because it was the root. So, as you build your own quiet continuity map, remember, start with people. Notice the patterns. Name the purpose. Those are your anchors. And they don't leave when you do, if you hand them over consciously. We've covered a lot so far. Identity, emotion, continuity, presence. But before we close, I want to offer a quiet reset. A moment to ground this entire journey into a single sentence. It's something we say often inside the Quiet Exit framework. A calm exit isn't about doing less. It's about being more deliberate with what remains. Let that sit. You're not disappearing. You're choosing what to carry forward. And the more clearly you choose, the more peacefully you'll walk. It doesn't need to be noisy. It doesn't need to be fast. But it does deserve intention. So if you've been listening today with that subtle knot in your stomach, that sense that something's shifting, but you're not quite sure how to name it, that's okay. You're not late, you're not behind, you're not broken. You're simply ready to start thinking differently. And that readiness is the start of something new. We'll return in a moment to close with one final exercise, but take a breath. Let this land. You're doing better than you think. Let's land this gently, not with urgency, but with clarity. Because if you've stayed with me this long, it likely means something here resonates. So here's one final exercise, the most personal of them all. We call it the self without the business letter. Set aside 30 minutes this week. Just you, a notebook, and a quiet room. And write. Not to a buyer, not to your team, but to yourself. Specifically, to the version of you on the other side of the sale. You might begin, "Dear me, now that I've let go, here's what I hope remains." This is not about goals or to-do lists. It's not about reinvention. It's about honouring identity beyond output. Ask yourself, what values do I still carry? What rhythms still bring me peace? Where do I want to invest presence now? Who do I want to be? Not just what I want to do. This simple letter becomes an anchor. A reminder that you exited before the business. And you will exist after it. It may not feel easy to write, but it might be the most important thing you do. When we work with sellers privately, this is often where the breakthrough happens. Not in the spreadsheets, not in the strategy, but in the quiet, when they finally ask, if I'm not in the business, then who am I allowed to be next? That question doesn't require an instant answer, but it does deserve space. You've built something meaningful. That doesn't disappear when you step back. It echoes in people, in impact, in the way others carry what you once held. But you deserve to carry something too. Not just legacy, not just responsibility. Freedom, reflection, a renewed sense of self. So if this episode has stirred something in you, good. It means you're listening. Not just to me, but to the quieter voice inside. The one that whispers, you're allowed to let go without disappearing. If you'd like to explore more, gently, privately, I invite you to download our post-exit identity map. It's inside the Quiet Exit Club. No noise, no pressure, just a quiet tool to help you reconnect with the person behind the business. You can find it at epitomycapital.co.uk/quiet-exit-club. I want to leave you with this. Letting go is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's a choice to protect what matters most without clinging to what no longer fits. And it can be done quietly, gracefully, without drama. That's what we're here to help with, if and when you're ready. Thank you, truly, for listening to the Quiet Exit podcast. You'll find all your resources at epitomycapital.co.uk/quiet-exit-club. If today's episode gave you even one sentence worth holding on to, I hope you'll carry it with care. And if you know another owner who's quietly wrestling with these thoughts, perhaps send us their way. You never know, it might be the calm conversation they didn't realise they needed. Until next time, be kind to what you've built, be even kinder to yourself. Take care.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of The Quiet Exit. If you're quietly thinking about your next chapter, you're not alone, and you don't have to figure it out publicly. For more resources, private insights, or to learn how we support legacy-first exits, visit epitomycapital.co.uk/quiet-exit-club. Until next time, stay clear, stay calm, and keep moving quietly.